In Northern California tonight, evacuations amid a real-life cliffhanger. A neighborhood hanging on the edge of
Hey, Diane, we're back. I dropped out. My TV's been dropping out a bit lately too. I think it's the solar flares.
As if it was only an illusion. It would only reappear at that distance, which made no sense.
Just moments ago, a chain of unsettling events began unfolding across the United States. In California, iconic highways collapsed into the ocean as the land beneath them gave way. At the same time, New York City was overwhelmed by sudden flooding, swallowing entire neighborhoods within minutes. Across the country, animals displayed unusual behavior, moving as if responding to a silent warning. Now, earthquakes are shaking areas once considered stable. What is disturbing millions is not one disaster, but how closely these events are unfolding together. When patterns
Along with the politics of the world at the moment, which are in chaos,
align this rapidly, they demand attention. If you sense something deeper is happening, like this video, comment, and subscribe because awareness often comes before understanding. Along the California coastline, the ocean did something many people had never seen before. Massive waves, some rising close to 40 feet, crashed into the shore with unusual force. Powerful rip currents pushed water far inland, wiping away the clear line that once separated sea from land. This was not danger happening offshore. The ocean moved directly toward places people believed were protected. What made this event more disturbing was how widespread it was. This did not happen at one beach or one city. Coastal areas from northern to southern California were hit almost at the same time. The timing alone made it hard to call coincidence.
that's a big event we didn't hear of, isn't it? If that's true, how come it's, no deaths?
It felt as if the boundary that once held the ocean back had quietly given way. As the water pushed forward, the land followed. Coastal cliffs collapsed without warning. Seawalls cracked, roads broke apart, and the ground beneath homes began to sink. In many areas, this happened within minutes. There was no slow erosion, no gradual retreat, just one failure triggering another in a rapid chain reaction. These were not random accidents. Each collapse weakened the next. Engineers later confirmed that the land had likely been shifting below the surface long before anyone could see it. The waves did not cause the weakness, they revealed what was already there. Structures people trusted for decades suddenly failed. Seawalls built for extreme conditions were overtaken. Hazard maps no longer reflected reality. Coastal planning based on old patterns could not keep up with the speed and intensity of what unfolded. Technology existed, but it was no longer enough. The most alarming moment came when the ocean entered daily life.
Dyer, push that link into complete blank page.
Water moved directly into residential areas, forcing emergency evacuations in Palos Verdes, Malibu, Santa Monica, Santa Cruz, San Diego, and Humboldt Bay. Places once labeled safe were no longer safe at all. The deepest fear did not come from the damage itself. It came afterward, with a quiet realization. Safe zones are no longer guaranteed. The Bible warned of moments like this, saying there would be...
I saw that. That's a good move. Tampon Tim. Oh, yeah.
times when
I'm all for that, Di.
the sea and the waves will roar. Luke 21:25. Not to spread panic, but to signal a warning. In Scripture, when boundaries are crossed, it is often a sign that a greater change is underway. And if the sea can cross its boundaries so suddenly, the question that follows is unsettling. What else may be about to shift next? In early January, while the coastline struggled to remain stable, a serious weather crisis was unfolding far to the north. In southeastern Alaska, especially around Juneau, snowfall had already reached nearly 94 inches, almost 4 times the normal average. This was no longer just a harsh winter, it was an extreme buildup. Then conditions changed abruptly. Cold, stable snow was suddenly hit by warmer temperatures and heavy rain. Rain fell directly on the deep snowpack,
and that'd cause heaps of water. Wow.
triggering flood advisories and avalanche evacuation warnings at the same time. What had once felt solid became dangerous. Local officials warned that nearly all slide paths near the coast mountains were now at high risk. Rain continued with little pause, weakening slopes and leaving communities with almost no time to react. Meteorologists traced the cause to a stalled atmospheric river, pulling moisture from the Gulf of Alaska. Instead of passing through, it lingered, overwhelming the land with continuous rain. The concern was not only how much snow or rain fell, but how fast everything changed. Winter conditions flipped almost overnight, pushing natural systems beyond their limits. This reflects a wider pattern. Weather no longer follows familiar rhythms. Extremes replace stability, and the time to prepare grows shorter. Jesus warned that before major turning points, there would be distress on the earth and confusion among people as nature itself reacts. Luke 21.
Welcome back, Big Stank.
And Alaska is not alone. As the land and sky lose their balance, Scripture reminds us that these signs are not meant to produce panic.
I
but
mustn't
to
have
awaken
bearers
attention.
on.
Because when creation begins to shift this quickly, it often signals that something deeper is already changing beneath the surface. It all began in the evening sky over Kansas City, the moment between day and night, when the daylight was fading but the night had not yet fallen. The sky was dark, heavy, and thick with gray clouds that carried no rain, only silence. The air was cold and still, as if the world had stopped. Then, suddenly, the clouds parted, and a white light fell from the sky. It was a pure white light that tore through the clouds, plummeting toward the ground. It was not like lightning. It did not flash. It did not make a sound. The light fell as fast as a giant sword from the sky, piercing the air and exploding in the residential area below, creating a ring of blazing fire. The light spread across the sky, reflecting off the buildings, making the whole city seem to be engulfed in flames. Moments later, the flames dissipated, leaving a swirling column of smoke, white as silver, curling and stretching until it dissipated into the dark clouds. Witnesses recounted the moment in trembling voices. Some screamed, others were stunned. Drivers stopped in the street, families ran outside, church bells rang without anyone pulling the cord. The light made no sound, but the silence it left behind was louder than thunder. Meteorologists rushed to explain it as a plasma discharge, but there was no storm system or magnetic data to indicate that. There was no lightning activity for hundreds of miles. Radar screens showed calm weather. Instruments registered nothing. Whatever it was, it came from nowhere. No moving clouds, no atmospheric patterns. Just a vertical line that appeared and disappeared as if drawn by the hand of God. The image spread across the country, and people began calling it the spear of heaven. Pastors reminded their congregations that Matthew 24-27 had long foretold such a vision. For as the lightning comes,
Good pastors get tell their flock that. A lot of the Catholics don't know what's going on.
from the east and flashes even to the west, so will the coming of the Son of Man be. Kansas, the heart of America, was struck dead center. It was symbolic, as if heaven had aimed precisely at the soul of the nation. Scientists searched for data, believers searched for meaning. To some, it was an electrical anomaly. To others, it was a divine message, a warning wrapped in light. The event was not destructive, it was awakening. As the smoke cleared and darkness returned, people stood under the heavy sky, whispering what no one dared to say aloud. If heaven has pierced the earth once, what will happen when it pierces it again? As the light that pierced the heartland faded, the echoes of that moment seemed to linger westward into the very backbone of America, where mountains towered like sentinels over the land. A few days later, deep in the Rocky Mountains, a group of hikers stumbled upon something half buried in rock, an ancient, rusted chest, wedged between two ledges, as if it had been hidden there on purpose. When the chest was pried open, the air around it carried a strange metallic scent. Inside were gold coins, gems, and relics that glittered even in the dim light of the cave. But what caught the eye were the markings, inscriptions that no one could make out. Etched along the rim were faint but unmistakable Hebrew characters, accompanied by geometric lines similar to those used on ancient Middle Eastern seals. Archaeologists from Denver and Jerusalem later confirmed that the writing matched ancient forms of Hebrew, a language not known to have reached the Americas. Scholars debated a variety of theories. Some argued that it was a modern hoax. Others believed it was the remains of lost travelers, perhaps one of the tribes expelled from Israel. But for many who followed the news, the discovery was more spiritual than accidental, a treasure rising from the earth in response to the light that had shone upon Kansas. Joshua 6:19 reads, "The silver and the gold are holy to the Lord." These words echoed through sermons and newspaper headlines. For believers, the timing was no coincidence. As the heavens opened and light shone upon the hearts of the people, the mountains responded by displaying their riches. It was as if creation itself were exposing its secrets, lifting its hidden heart to God's judgment. Local pastors in Colorado began calling it the Ark of the Covenant, recalling the treasures once consecrated to God in the days of Joshua. The symbolism was profound. When light penetrated the earth, what was hidden must be exposed. After the land shifted and the weather broke its pattern, another sign appeared, this time not through chaos, but through silence. As if once the earth had spoken, attention was drawn upward. In Northern California, witnesses reported seeing a column of white light standing still above Mount Shasta. It did not move, flicker, or make any sound. It did not behave like an aircraft or a reflection in the sky. The light appeared briefly, held its shape, and then disappeared without warning. What made this sighting unusual was how calm it was. There was no explosion of light.
Diane, I saw that heckle. Trump held up the middle finger. I forget what he was heckling about.
No dramatic movement. It did not force attention. It simply appeared, as if waiting to be noticed, and then quietly faded away. Those who saw it did not describe fear, but stillness. The moment felt like a pause in the night, short, silent, and unsettling in its simplicity. No official explanation followed, and the sky returned to normal, leaving only questions behind. In the Bible, light appearing in darkness is not a sign of destruction, but of guidance. When God led his people through uncertainty, he used light to show the way, not noise to create fear. The Lord went ahead of them, by night in a pillar of fire to give them light. Exodus 13:21. Mountains also carry meaning in Scripture. They are often places where heaven and earth meet, where direction is given and truth is revealed. Important moments in the Bible happen on mountains, not to impress crowds, but to prepare hearts. Seen this way, the light above Mount Shasta does not point to disaster. It points to awareness, a signal meant to be noticed, not explained away. And this is what makes the moment hard to ignore.
Welcome back,
First,
boss.
the ground shifted. Then the weather turned unstable. Now, a silent light appears above a mountain.
Yeah, I thought he did die, but I didn't want to yell it out.
If these were separate events, they might be.
What do you reckon? You reckon there's anything fishy with Trump and that issue?
Dismissed. But when signs move from the land,
Because if they really had the goods on him, they would have done it before the election.
and to the sky, the question changes. What is being revealed next? Something above us, or something hidden much closer than we think? After the land shifted and the weather lost its rhythm, the changes did not stop there. Something quieter began to unfold, subtle enough to ignore, yet widespread enough to unsettle those paying attention. Creation itself appeared to be reacting. Along several coastlines, witnesses reported waves glowing in intense blue as they crashed onto the shore. Entire stretches of water lit up at night, far brighter and more widespread than what is normally seen with bioluminescence. Scientists offered partial explanations, but many admitted the scale was unusual. The ocean, which had already crossed physical boundaries, now seemed to change in appearance, drawing attention not with force, but with light. At the same time, animals across multiple regions began behaving differently. Birds hesitated or altered migration paths.
Remember all the animals were walking in circles about a year ago? Wasn't that freaky?
They had followed for generations. Marine animals surfaced in unfamiliar areas. On land, animals avoided routes they once crossed without hesitation. There was no visible threat, no clear trigger, yet the behavior was consistent. It did not look like panic, it looked like instinct. Then came the sky. Long stretched cloud formations appeared where they were rarely seen. In some areas, the night sky glowed with soft pink and red hues, lingering longer than expected. Rare blue meteors were reported, flashing briefly before vanishing. Each event, by itself, could be dismissed. Together, they formed a pattern that felt difficult to ignore. The Bible speaks directly to moments like this. Scripture does not describe creation as passive, it describes it as responsive. In Romans 8:22, we are told that the whole creation has been groaning as in the pains of childbirth. This language is not random. It suggests anticipation, something forming before it is fully revealed. Throughout biblical history, nature often reacts before people understand why. The earth shakes, the sky changes, living creatures move. Only later does meaning become clear. These signs are not described as chaos for chaos's sake, but as signals, warnings meant to awaken attention. What makes this moment unsettling is how many layers are responding at once. The sea changes, the land weakens, the weather reverses, animals react, the sky displays unfamiliar signs. Creation appears to be speaking in multiple ways at the same time. And Scripture tells us that when signs multiply, they are not meant to end the conversation, they are meant to begin it. Because
Everything gets judged, even the trees. Remember he cursed the fig tree?
when creation reacts this clearly, the next stage is rarely about what is happening around us. It is about what is being revealed beneath us. And that is where the signs become impossible to ignore. As attention focused on signs in the sky and shifts across the land, another discovery emerged, this time from deep beneath the surface. In Arizona, a landslide triggered by unstable ground exposed something no one expected: a stone tablet carved directly into solid bedrock. It was not loose debris or a fallen marker. It was embedded, as if placed there to endure. What immediately puzzled researchers was the writing itself. The symbols carved around the tablet did not match any known Native American language, nor did they resemble Latin, Greek, or commonly cataloged ancient scripts. The markings showed precision and structure, suggesting intentional design rather than random etching. Whoever carved it knew exactly what they were doing and expected it to last. At the center,
I remember seeing an interview with an American Indian or something like that. I can't remember who supplied it, or someone like that. And they found a tablet that the giants were escaping from the robber Joshua. I forget where I got it from, but someone did say that in a video.
of the stone, however, was something even more unsettling. Clear, readable English words stood apart from the surrounding symbols. The king returns. There was no decoration, no explanation, no date, just a short declaration carved deeply enough to survive centuries of weathering. Experts noted visible signs of age. The surface showed erosion consistent with long-term exposure to pressure and time. This was not a recent hoax scratched into stone. The craftsmanship suggested patience, purpose, and permanence. The message was not meant to be temporary, it was meant to wait. Authorities quickly secured the site and limited access. Few images were released, and official statements were brief. No timeline was given. No conclusion was offered. The lack of explanation only fueled more questions than answers. From a biblical perspective, the message carries heavy meaning. Scripture speaks repeatedly of a coming king, not returning quietly, not as a servant, but as a ruler. The book of Revelation describes a moment when Christ returns openly, in authority, to claim what is his. The language of kingship is deliberate. It signals completion, judgment, and restoration. What makes this discovery unsettling is not only what the message says, but when it appeared. The Bible teaches that certain things are revealed at appointed times, hidden until the moment they are meant to be seen. Daniel was told that words would be sealed until the time of the end. Revelation speaks of events unveiled, not created, at the right hour.